Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're cracking open The Millionaire Next Door.
Ooh, a classic.
It really is.
Yeah.
This book kind of flips the script on how we think about wealth in America. You know?
Right? It's not about the bling.
Exactly. Forget the fancy cars and mansions. We're going deeper, straight to the source. We've got excerpts from the book itself, and we're going to uncover the habits and the mindset, really, that set real millionaires apart.
It's fascinating. They dig into the psychology of wealth. What makes a prodigious accumulator of wealth pick
Applause.
versus, of course, the underaccumulator of wealth, the UAW.
And get this, one of the first things that jumped out at me. The book says that the average American household often has zero ZIP financial assets.
Once you factor out home equity and things that, lose value, like cars.
It's a wake-up call.
Mhm.
Makes you think, how secure are things if that paycheck suddenly stopped?
Big question. The book challenges this whole idea that, high income automatically equals wealth.
Right, it's not just about what you earn. It's about what you do with it. Those behaviors, those choices, that's what separates the builders from the pretenders.
So there's this wealth equation they introduce.
I love this part.
It says your expected net worth should be your age times your realized income, then you divide it all by 10.
Elegant, right?
But how do we actually use that?
It's a gauge, a way to see where you stand. Let's say you're 40, making $100,000 a year.
Okay, following along.
Your expected net worth, according to this equation, about $400,000.
Got it.
Now, are you above that number? Chances are you're a paw.
A prodigious accumulator.
Below it. You might be slipping into UAW territory.
And the book has this great example, Mr. Richards.
I know, Mr. Preachers.
He's a mobile home dealer. And then there's Mr. Ford, a high-powered attorney. Same age, same income bracket.
Set the stage.
Guess who the millionaire is?
It's a classic setup, right? Totally subverts expectations.
Mr. Richards, the mobile home dealer, is the actual millionaire.
Boom. Mic drop moment. Wealth doesn't care about your job title.
It's not about appearances. It's about choices.
100%.
Yeah.
And that leads us to this whole idea of frugality.
Not being cheap.
No, it's intentional.
Yeah.
It's about, having a purpose with your money.
The book says many millionaires are incredibly frugal.
Driving used cars, living in modest homes.
They prioritize building wealth over looking rich.
It's strategic. They free up more cash to invest. And honestly, it can be more fulfilling. You're not chasing that, keeping up with the Joneses thing.
They had this story, remember, about a focus group.
Oh, the dick of millionaires.
Millionaires. The researchers thought they'd want champagne and caviar.
High life.
But guess what?
Tell me.
Budweiser and crackers.
That's it. They were happy as clams.
Yeah.
It's like true wealth. It's not about impressing others. It's about living authentically.
Aligning with your values.
Exactly.
So frugality, check. But the book also stresses budgeting.
Even if it's not this super formal line-by-line thing, millionaires, they just know where their money's going.
They're mindful.
They track, they make choices. And there's this core principle they highlight. Pay yourself first. Invest at least 15% of your income.
Before anything else.
Make it automatic.
And they compare that with those in the underaccumulator category. Obsessed with tax deductions, but ignoring daily spending habits.
Rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic,
That
right?
doesn't quite make sense, does it?
Big picture thinking is key. Tax savvy is important, but meaningless if you're just bleeding money elsewhere.
It's about priorities.
The book really forces you to look in the mirror, financially speaking, at least.
It's not just how much you earn. It's about managing, investing, making that money work for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we were talking about priorities and making that money work for you. There's this story in the book about Mr. Rodney. He was a corporate manager.
Mr. Rodney, yep, I remember him.
He had this chance to get in on his company's stock purchase plan, one of those super tax advantage deals.
Oh, yeah.
Should jumped on that. He thought, nah, I don't need it now. I can invest later.
Classic mistake. Life happens, right?
It really does. And the book's full of these cautionary tales. High-income folks, even seniors, stuck in that same trap.
The earn and consume cycle.
It makes you wonder, is there a point where it's just too late to turn things around, financially speaking?
Well, they definitely emphasize starting early. The sooner you get that ball rolling, the better.
Time is money.
But it's never truly too late. They contrast Mr. Denzi, who was building wealth at 22, with Dr. Dokes.
Okay, different timelines.
Dr. Dokes, years of med school, got a much later start. But it illustrates the power of time.
Compound interest, all that.
The longer you're earning, the more that wealth snowballs. But there's another thing. Being on the same page with your spouse.
Oh, teamwork.
Huge. It's incredibly difficult if one person's a spendthrift. They talk about the Souths. He's a doctor.
High earner.
She loves to shop. They were blowing through six figures easy.
No savings.
Not much. Highlights how crucial it is to be aligned financially. Shared goals, that sort of thing.
Makes sense. You're pulling in different directions.
Exactly. And the book talks about PAWs and UAWs, how they use their time differently.
Like time management.
More than that. There's this link between being self-employed and investment planning.
Interesting.
Even those with average incomes, those self-employed folks, they're integrating it into their work lives.
Always thinking about the future.
It's like their business and their financial future are intertwined. So they're kind of forced to be more financially savvy.
Yeah.
But the point is, those PAWs, they dedicate time to it. Planning, managing their wealth. It's a routine.
Not a chore.
Exactly. Not something they dread. And speaking of investing, the book also says millionaires aren't always glued to the stock market.
They're not. You'd think.
It's not about constant checking or obsessing over every little fluctuation.
Okay, so more of a long view.
They're in it for the long haul. Real wealth. It's patience. Letting those investments grow. They're playing the long game.
There was that study, right? Checking your investments too often leads to worse decisions.
100%. Sometimes less is more. And remember, even stockbrokers, they're not always wealthy themselves.
That's wild. You didn't think they'd have it figured out.
Knowledge isn't everything. It's the strategy, the discipline to stick to the plan.
Dr. Self. Didn't he pop up again?
Oh yeah, Mr. Bargain Hunter. Cars, stocks, you name it. Had accounts with multiple brokerage firms.
Fees galore.
Spent a fortune on advice. But his portfolio, underperforming compared to Dr. North. Remember him?
Refresh my memory.
He manages his own investments, rarely sells. Dr. South, chasing every hot tip while Dr. North stays steady.
Sounds like finding a good financial advisor is key.
Crucial. Someone who's got your best interest at heart, not just their commission check.
Trustworthy.
They suggest getting referrals, looking at an advisor's client base. Are they mostly PAWs?
Birds of a feather, right?
Surround yourself with people who are doing it right. Speaking of which, remember those millionaires who are entrepreneurs? What kinds of businesses are they building?
Oh yeah, the book did dive into that.
They look at the types of businesses, give insights into profitability of different industries.
Do like a secret formula?
Not really. They caution against blindly chasing whatever seems profitable. It's about skills, mindset, work ethic.
Makes sense. You can't just pick any industry and expect to win.
Exactly. They tell this story about Larry. He wanted a printing company.
Oh, right. But didn't he end up doing something different?
He realized he wasn't cut out to be a traditional entrepreneur. So instead of giving up, he became a self-employed broker, printing services.
Used his knowledge, his connections.
Built a low overhead, successful business. Worked smarter, not harder.
You don't always have to fit the mold. There's more than one way to make it.
And they talk about fear, too. Even successful entrepreneurs feel it.
Oh, definitely. It's part of the game.
But they push past it, take calculated risks. Remember Mr. W?
Luxury real estate.
He buys those distressed condos, flips them for profit.
But he doesn't keep them, right?
Nope. He sees them as investments, purely, not emotional attachments.
That's interesting. Different mindset.
He's capitalizing on a process, something he's good at. Those UAWs who buy those condos, they're often focused on status, Mr. W. He's driven by financial gain.
Know your why.
Exactly. Status or wealth. Which you're after. So we were talking about EOC earlier.
Economic outpatient care.
Affluent parents helping their adult kids. Does the book say it's always bad?
So this economic outpatient care, this EOC thing, affluent parents giving their grown kids a financial safety net. Seems like a good thing, right?
You'd think so. But the book makes this case that it can actually backfire.
Really?
They give examples like Mary and Lamar living the high life because Mary's parents keep bailing them out.
Oh, wow.
And the author suggests it's holding them back, preventing them from becoming truly self-sufficient.
It's like too much help is actually hurting.
Almost. Creates this dependency. And get this, the more money those kids received, the less they actually accumulated themselves.
So there's like a negative correlation.
Exactly. More handouts, less wealth. And it's not just about the kids, right? The book also looks at the impact on the parents.
It makes sense. You'd think it would drain their finances.
It does. Parents who give a lot of financial support, they often have way less wealth than those whose kids are independent.
So it hurts everyone involved.
Pretty much. Remember Mary and Lamar? They use them as an example again.
Oh, right. Mary's parents were the ones enabling it all.
successful folks, but they're propping up this lifestyle that Mary and Lamar haven't earned, paying for private school, bailing them out constantly.
It's like, teach a man to fish, right? Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
That's the message. The real gift is teaching those kids how to be financially independent. Give them the tools, not just the handout.
Empowerment, not entitlement.
Exactly. They even have this story, Laura. She was facing a divorce, suddenly had to figure out her finances.
Tough situation.
She could have gone to her wealthy parents, but she didn't. She used her skills, her determination.
What'd she do?
Became a successful real estate agent. Reinvented herself. Proves you can overcome anything with the right mindset.
Love that. So if handouts aren't the answer, what is? What did they suggest for those affluent parents?
Creating an environment that encourages independence. Rewards responsibility, not just, being born into privilege.
So back to that teach a man to fish idea.
Right. And they tell the story of Burl and Susan. Came from modest means, worked hard, became affluent.
Okay, so they wanted better for their kids.
They did. Sent them to college, encouraged travel, exposed them to a more upscale lifestyle.
Sounds like good intentions.
But it didn't necessarily translate into financial success for those kids. Highlights that economic success is a combination of things: talent, discipline, opportunity.
Sometimes too much can actually hold them back.
They need a little struggle to build resilience. There's a story about two sisters, Sarah and Alice.
Okay, what happened?
Sarah, always independent, didn't want to rely on the family money, built her own career.
Good for her.
Alice, on the other hand, she was used to the luxury, the support.
So Sarah was the go-getter.
And guess what? Sarah ended up a self-made millionaire. Alice struggled financially, relied heavily on her father, and when Alice passed away, it was Sarah who stepped up to support her nieces and nephews.
Wow. Shows you wealth is about more than just money, right?
100%. It's character, it's skills, it's resilience, that ability to bounce back, to create a good life, a fulfilling life. And that brings us to estate planning.
Leaving a legacy.
Right. As more folks become millionaires, the book says we need those estate attorneys, making sure that wealth gets passed down smoothly.
It's complicated, right? All the legal stuff.
They say get professional guidance. And they predict this huge boom in demand for those estate attorneys in the years ahead.
It's not just about becoming the millionaire next door yourself then. It's about thinking about the future.
It's a lot to consider. And one of the things I found most interesting, the book says many millionaires, they don't even realize they're wealthy.
They just live normal lives.
They blend in, live modestly, save diligently. They talk about Mr. Andrews, high earner, thought he was doing great financially.
Until
he ends up in this focus group with 8 actual millionaires.
Oh, I bet that was eye-opening.
He realizes high income doesn't equal high net worth. He was all show, not a lot of dough. It's a good reminder you can't judge a book by its cover.
We all know those people, right? Flashing the cash, but maybe not as secure as they seem.
The book pushes us to be more mindful. Make choices that align with our long-term goals. It's not about deprivation, it's about intention.
Mindset is everything.
The Millionaire Next Door, it's not just a financial guide, it's a way of life. Strong relationships, pursuing your passions, giving back.
Living with purpose, not just for possession.
Finding that balance.
Yeah.
Focus on your strengths, keep learning, have a growth mindset.
Become the best version of yourself, financially and personally.
It's a journey. The Millionaire Next Door gives us the map, but we have to walk the path.
Challenge the norms, embrace frugality, invest in the future.
And remember, true wealth, it's not about how much you spend, it's how much you save, invest, give back.
So, are you ready to become the millionaire next door?
Anyone can do it. It's about the work you put in, the principles you embrace.
And remember, the best investment is in yourself. That wraps up our deep dive into the Millionaire Next Door. Hope you found it useful.
Keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.